On April 16, 2007, Virginia Tech had suffered a devastating loss of 33 people. 26 students and 5 faculty members, along with the shooter Sung-Hui Choi, had lost their lives that day. Now, the story doesn't begin here, but today we'll be hearing eyewitness statements from students who had survived that day. The attack was the deadliest mass shooting in the U.S. history until it was surpassed in 2016. First, we'll be hearing from Lisa Hamp, as she tells us about one of the most scariest days of her life.
I had walked into my computer class at Norris Hall, like I did most days. We were taking notes that day. Like in a typical computer class, where they're putting some random code on the board and we're just all writing it down confused. And then once we heard the sounds, everything just sort of stopped. It was like, what's going on? I mean, dead silent. I remember one of my classmates and the teaching student went outside to investigate. Then all of a sudden, shots started firing. And we all started to hurry and grab whatever we could to barricade the door. It was literally like table up, desk up, shooter was at the door. It was a matter of seconds. I didn't know who the shooter was at the time, but he just keeps trying to kick open the door and kick it down. And when that wasn't working, he just started shooting through the door. We all stayed huddled on the floor, pushed against the door as bullets just flew like over our heads. And he would kick the door and it would like swing open a foot and then just push back. At the time, I think I thought that I was undeserving. I was unworthy, that I lucked out, that I just needed to be quiet and make myself small. Because there's this whole other population of people who have it so much worse than you do. So you just need to shut up. You sure need to shut up, hold it in, and keep moving. But that doesn't really work in terms of recovering and healing.
Now that we've heard Lisa Hamp's story and what her accounts of that day were, and how, even though she was not shot, she still was a victim and had to deal with the pain of what went down, we will now be hearing from Colin Goddard, who was shot 4 times, and his story of what happened that day.
I was the average 21-year-old student enjoying life downtown. The weekend before the shooting was my fertility formals in West Virginia. So I had a great time with all of my brothers. The day I was in the French class, moments later in the class, we heard that what could be described as bangs. Our professor, Courtre Noark, looked outside the classroom and then turned around really fast and slammed the door shut before telling all of us to get under the desks and call 911. For the first time in my life, I called 911 from my phone and heard a woman's voice and tried to explain to her. I'm trying to explain what was happening. The gunman was trying to come in. It was the most scared I've ever been in my life. I don't remember having the thought of, I'm gonna die. All I can remember was, I just can't believe that this is real. As a result of 9.5 minutes of somebody who's never should have had a gun, having a gun in their hands, 32 of my classmates and teachers died. I got shot 4 times, above the knee and on both hips and on my shoulder. I was one of the lucky ones.
Now that we've heard from Colin and his recounts of what happened that day and how he was shot 4 times, we will now be hearing from Christina Anderson, who was also in the same class as Colin during that day. But first, did you know that 10 years after Colin had thought he had fully recovered, he went to the doctor and learned that when the doctors weren't able to remove all the bullet fragments that were still in his body, they are slowly starting to poison him. But now he has to live with the fact that the bullets from that day and the horrible memories are still living within him and slowly poisoning him.
I thought about skipping class that day, but I was already running late and I decided to go. And to this day, I still wonder what my life would be like if I had. I remember hearing the shots. My professor looked out in the hallway, turned around, and told one of us to call 911. It was 5 to 7 seconds. It all happened incredibly fast. And it just so happened that our door was the only one that didn't lock. We all dropped down to the ground underneath the desks and played dead, but it wasn't enough to stop Cho from shooting 2 bullets into my back and 1 in my foot. I remember thinking I needed to stay low. I tried to hold myself in from breathing so he couldn't see my t-shirt moving up and down. I could sense he was looking to see who was still alive. The shooting was very quick. It was very methodical and it was very intentional. He shot every single person but one in our classroom. Okay. Cho came back several times to the classroom looking for survivors. I was shot each time he came back. He didn't say anything. He just went down the row. The second time, he shot above my head. I looked up. He shot me again. I've asked myself, why did I look up?
Now that we've heard from Christina and her story of being shot twice in the back, we can look back on what they've said and seeing how much this event has affected their lives and how it is still affecting them today. We also can see how you don't have to be shot in a mass shooting to be a victim. These people have shared their stories and expressed how difficult this moment has been for them. But did you know that mass shootings have become incredibly more common to this day? And it's sad that many people have to constantly lose their lives because of this. Shootings have become a large problem in our society, taking the lives of many people of all ages and all gender, and of all ethnicities. There has been data that has been taken starting from 1982 going all the way to the present of 2024. And it's been counting and looking at all the height of how each shooting has grown through the years. Mass shootings really hit a high peak in 2017, only to drop off again in 2020 with COVID, only to rise back up again in 2021. This is a real problem. Many people have lost their lives because of this. These people do not deserve what's happened to them. And now we've heard the stories of what has happened and what still happens to this day. And I thank you for hearing the stories about the people who have suffered a devastating loss and how it has affected their lives.
Lost their lives
Thank
April
you.
16th, 2007, during the Virginia Tech mass shooting.